take a page out of the Survivor rulebook, which says that an analogy has to be made each episode in the most abstract and unfitting way possible, I'm going to start this review of Survivor 49 by saying that, to me, this season of Survivor was kind of like when you go to an ice cream shop and you're standing in line and you're looking up and down at all the different flavors before you. You're excited to pick out one of your favorites. Maybe you'll sneak in a sample or two before you do, just to, game the game. But then, when you actually snake around and get to the front of the ice cream viewing section in the line, you take a look at all the flavors and you first see chocolate chip. Solid, consistent, it's a little basic, probably not what you're going for tonight, but hey, maybe. You look at the next one, it's also chocolate chip, but maybe this time it's mint. Maybe you're feeling minty, but maybe not. Third one, surprisingly chocolate with chips. In fact, it's vanilla with chips. It's the same game, it's just a different name. Fourth one, pistachio. No, it's actually not. It's chocolate chip, but it's a fresher batch. And I think you can probably see where I'm going with this. I don't want to beat you over the head with the cone or the cup of chocolate chip ice cream you probably got. It's a little bit pricey for what it is, but it's a vibe. And it honestly doesn't disappoint you much in the end going down. It's ice cream. It's probably not the most exciting flavor in the world. And, certainly this shop has had more variety in the past, but it's still better than no ice cream at all, right? Anyway, that is my analogy to describe the latest era of Survivor. In a world full of variety and flavor, here I am once again talking about chocolate chip. Just to be clear, I have nothing against chocolate chip ice cream, but a part of me does yearn for something else after 9 trips to the creamery. And in the same vein, to not continue on with this stupid analogy, I don't really have much against Survivor 49 either. In a vacuum, I mostly like this season. Dare I be so bold to say it's in my upper half of the latest era of the previous 9 seasons, and it may even land in the top half of my overall season rankings, which I might actually get to in 2026. And I think, spoilers, although this could change, I think 49 is almost like right in the middle, actually. For me, by far, the biggest problem 49 suffers from is where it all falls in the overall timeline of the show. Just the whole too late to explore the Earth and too early to explore the stars. It's at the tail end of the new era's 40 seasons, yet it also exists in the massive shadow that is season 50. Being at the end of the 40s, this meant it was a lot like every other season in the 40s before it. If you've seen the past 9 seasons or so, you probably know what I mean. We cut to the boats coming in. We start with 3 tribes of 6. They beach and do a challenge. We got Sweater Savvy in the premiere. Beware advantages, a small task. We probably get a disaster tribe where one tribe loses a majority of the time before the merge or the swap. There's a few journeys for advantages, some sepia tone key changes with family photos. We get a weird merge split mergatory thing, and then a split tribal post merge and advantage at the final 5 immunity. Fire making, the end.
This is gonna be the easiest million I will ever make.
Will Survivor 50 get that live reunion? And then with Survivor 49, we also kinda knew a couple of players were returning for season 50, and if you were curious to find out who they were ahead of time, you probably kinda sorta had to reconcile with the narrative of 49, knowing both Rizzo and Savannah were going to be big names, with big games, worthy of representing the season. Take, for example, my perspective. I knew they were coming back before the season aired, which definitely made the post-merge a lot more intriguing to see them both on the bottom and fighting every episode to survive. They were like Neo and Trinity from The Matrix, dodging every bullet, taking on a majority alliance of Mr. Andersons. And I would like to think that if I didn't know they were coming back and likely dodging all those bullets, I think this season would be all the better for it. That being said, I do want to reiterate that I still liked this season enough to put it above half of the other Survivor seasons, so I guess I'm kind of like front-loading this review with the negative bits first. I didn't know Savannah was going to win or what her and Rizzo's fate would ultimately be, but I had a hunch that she was the winner based on the tribes on season 50, and that's also why I didn't make a True Contenders video for 49. It just didn't really feel right. But I did rewatch parts of this season already, and I do think that it'll not only hold up better on a rewatch, but also on a binge, knowing that it is that underdog factor where three of the better, dare I say, best players on the cast managed to outmaneuver everyone else en route to a finale photo finish. A good handful of my favorite seasons feature just that, underdogs who find a way to make it happen. And I don't think knowing the Foa 4 or the Jalapao 3 or the I-24 were all at the end of those respective seasons would make me think less of them, because the journey to get there was so bumpy and full of character and substance. Well, okay, maybe not all of those seasons, but I do think knowing Rizzo and Savannah were returning affected some people and affected their opinion of what they were watching week to week. But I also think that's more on the individual viewer than the season itself, and I don't hold it against 49 in the big picture. I knew Zeke and Michaela were returning for Game Changers, but that didn't stop me from enjoying their first season. But you know what did stop me from outright loving 49? It was everything that I just said before what I just said about Rizzo and Savannah. It's that the 40s New Era seasons are basically all variations of what tastes like the same flavor of Survivor. You know, if we dropped the 4 and kept the 1, as was the tagline for season 41, I don't think it's even a competition as far as which run of seasons has more going for them between the first 9, Borneo to Vanuatu, and the latest 9 from 41 to 49. Just the sheer variety of locations, of cast size, of tribe makeup, of unique twists, of challenges, the overall format from season to season, with some seasons having overarching themes, while others are a little bit more basic, but division by age or gender or whatever. Some seasons not too far removed from those seasons would have schoolyard picked tribes or schoolyard picked tribe swaps that we got to see play out, which I don't know why they cut those. There's some of those interesting stuff in the history of the show. And even when Survivor began to film in the same location back to back, starting with season 19 and 20, they still recognized the importance of mixing it up a bit and trying to differentiate the two seasons from one another. And heck, even when they moved to Fiji indefinitely in season 33 and 34, they leaned heavily on themes and unique twists to carry the day year to year. There was just so much variety that a fan never knew what exactly they were going to get when they started a new season. 2 tribes? 3 tribes? 4? Race wars? Honestly, I will take the surprise of a Mr. Beast cameo on season 50, if only to see what the heck is about to go down with this. I did not really expect that, and perhaps the Big Brother fan in me isn't as jaded about celebrity cameos as the usual Survivor fan might be, but if it can even possibly give the 50s era of this show something different, I'm keen to tune in. Because my biggest fear for season 50 and onward, honestly more onward than anything, isn't a celebrity cameo. It's that we just get more chocolate chip. I'm ready for something different, Jeffrey. And yet, I still enjoyed 49, which is kind of frustrating because I want the producers to iterate and surprise me, and yet Survivor still tops the charts in its time slot. And what incentive does Jeff have to not just do the same thing all over again? I've become so comfortable with expecting chocolate chip, and he is more than happy to keep making it. Okay, let's analyze those chips, because they're not all perfect, but they are still pretty damn tasty. For example, I found the first 3 episodes of Survivor 49 to be pretty generic and forgettable. Well, more like the first 2.5 episodes. We did get the Jake medevac in episode 3, which was absolutely anything but that. I thought that was actually really gripping and wild to see. We've seen people get hurt, but the ceiling of danger for what was possible with Jake's situation was too high to ignore, and I also unfortunately think this season was both better and worse because of it. On one hand, for the better, it probably forced the producers to change up the format just a bit to accommodate for his early exit, which I personally like. It's a little bit of expecting the unexpected. On the other, I think Jake was one of the more unique players at that point and would have made the show a bit better had he still been on it. But I think at this point it's like easier to call it than not. We had yet another disaster tribe with Sophie and Alex emerging from the ruins, all battered and bruised, and I was rooting for them. I mean, it's pretty much hard not to. Particularly Sophie, I was rooting for her quite a lot. She was my favorite for most of the season, and I can't ignore that a second coming of Malcolm and Denise from season 25. Just inject that into my veins, and I'm on board. I'm always ready to go. But this is the contextual part of Survivor 49. My only problem is that I've seen this film before, especially as of late with the new era. I actually made a video a little bit ago about how often disaster tribes have been popping up, and I already know the ending. They're either Emily from 45 or Kenzie from 46. Or I guess technically Malcolm and Denise from 25 seasons ago. Again, this is what I mean when I talk about where 49 falls in the overall timeline. I don't think it helps it here with so much repetition, and that I believe two tribes are just generally more interesting than three. More people are interacting with each other, more people are involved in the storylines, the audience gets to know more people better, and just straight up mathematically more relationships form with two tribes even with a swap than three tribes starting out. It's awkward watching so much time around people that aren't going to be here by the end of episode 3, and personally, just it's a little bit old. And then talking about the tribe swap, the first tribe swap, unfortunately, also really didn't do much to move the needle, as we saw both Matt and Jason get picked off in a rather tame fashion. Neither of them played well, and I can't say I was too hooked by any storylines involved just yet, so 5 episodes deep, I'm mostly just coasting along. Survivor 49 is not beating the cookie cutter allegations just yet. That was, however, until episode 6 came along and got me leaning forward a bit more from the comfort of my sofa. The Sage and Shannon rivalry came to a head, and we saw Sage and Jawan begin to brandish their knives as they cut Shannon loose in an episode that I would say was one of the most enjoyable ones in recent memory. All the great signs of a pre-merge blindside, where a vote was dictated by actual relationships and forward-thinking strategy instead of just, tribal colors. The pettiness, the eye rolls, the drama, and the overall lack of hugs was enough for me to clock back in. While we had some foreshadowing of future events in the pre-merge, like the Savannah and Jawan rivalry, or the Savannah and Sage rivalry, or, pretty much everyone being against Savannah, as well as Yellow Sophie finding herself on the bottom of Hina, which would actually turn into a major plot line down the line. I don't know why we didn't get more Yellow Sophie in the pre-merge, personally. Think that's more of a con of the overall season. As well as having Blue Sophie and Alex playing the middle, a la Malcolm and Denise. The subtle pieces of kindling that were laid out in the pre-merge were finally beginning to catch a spark that I would say carried the rest of this season up until the very end. It's unfortunate that the start was so slow because once the merge happened, Survivor 49 did not let up. We start with the Nate blindside, a safe vote to counter Rizzo's idol. The target is Savannah, but that's too obvious. Is anyone else getting a Gardo from season 14 flashbacks? Oh god, are Rizzo and Savannah and Sophie the other three horsemen? Jawan and Sage flip, and the dynamic of the tribe is just, it's just so good. This is what you want from a merge episode. It's palpable, it's personal, it's giving Mean Girls too, and the only question I have is why the heck does Rizzo and Savannah, for that matter, trust Sage after MC told Rizzo specifically Sage leaked his idol in the second swap? In the previous episode. Yeah, did I miss something here? In the second swap, MC tells Rizzo that Sage leaked about his idol, but then the merge hits and Rizzo trusts Sage implicitly. Why? Oh, from the post-season interviews, it turns out MC actually threw Shannon under the bus, not Sage, but the editor spliced in Sage's name instead. I don't really get why, given the throw Shannon under the bus storyline actually takes center stage at the merge after she's voted out. That's a huge cog, a huge piece in the Jenga tower to explain everything that's going down here. I don't know. Don't really get it. Feels a bit like a continuity error that didn't need to exist. And actually, just another thing here that's a little bit ticky-tack, but I don't understand why Blue Sophie was able to find the knowledge is power advantage at the second swap, seemingly out of the blue. Rizzo says in the scene that he has this intuition that something is out in the jungle, but I just I'm wondering, are the other two tribes, did they also have something similar on their beaches too? Could we have had 3 Kips in play? Or do they just get other advantages that are similar in nature, I guess? We of course then get the expected split tribal twist with Savannah winning her first immunity and This twist just completely blows up the game and has a chain reaction that just doesn't stop for the rest of the season. Rizzo gets trapped in a 5-person tribe all alone, him and his idol, and the other 4 are all against him. Yet they convince him that he's safe and he doesn't actually need to play it. Whoa, Rizzo, what? No, but bro, come on. No, why? Why? What do we, you're serious here? You just got blindsided at the merge vote? Okay. But then Yellow Sophie explains how she's going to plop an emergency vote on Jawan in case Rizzo does play his idol, which I don't think he would, but who knows? Maybe he would. But then MC desires to win over Jawan's trust after her bad idol play, so she lets him know what Sophie's plan is, that he might be in a little bit of danger. Jawan panics, tells Sage, who then tells Sophie. A chain reaction, a beautiful chain reaction of calamity leads all the way back to MC being in the hot seat despite looking out for Jawan in the first place. Because Yellow Sophie was at the bottom of the majority alliance and she didn't fully know it yet, and now she was finding out. Also, turns out that once Savannah arrived at the beach in this twist, she tips off Sophie that everyone knew about MC's idol except her. Even Savannah knew about it because of that key scuffle in the previous episode. Yellow Sophie is seeing red and ready to flip, and that's what happens. This chain of events just changes the entire landscape of the season. MC gets blindsided and the game is blown wide open. And I do lament that I think it would have been fascinating to see Savannah, Rizzo, and Blue Sophie navigate a minority position for at least one episode. They did kind of get weirdly bailed out by circumstance due to the split twist, and then Savannah being clutch at challenges, which I will give her that. I think it was just, a little bit of serendipity how it all came together for them. Rizzo holding his idol, Sav being safe, the RNG of the split dynamics. Savannah gets to both have her cake and eat it too here. She gets to both have lunch with the winning side and hear their gossiping about Yellow Sophie, how screwed she is, how she's definitely going to be the vote, and then gets to tell this to Sophie in like 20 minutes. And then she also gets an extra vote advantage that she doesn't have to tell anybody about, and she doesn't actually have to vote, which just, again, whew, it's a lot. This is a lot for a bunch of underdogs. It's a little twisty for my taste, but I will still give kudos to the cast for being entertaining enough to make lemonade out of what is usually one of my least favorite twists of any newer season. I mean, look no further than Survivor 48, which was, this might have been one of the worst episodes of that entire season. So, a twist that emerged all the way back on Ghost Island. I never thought I'd be praising it, but I think in this case, it did make this season a heck of a lot more electric. And then we have the Alex boot, which is just like totally out of left field. And really, I think major kudos to Rizzo for planting seeds that seemingly were able to grow in the span of like 24 to 48 hours. Alex was playing the middle, and now Jawan and Sage are yet again controlling the direction of this season. And with Savannah being safe yet again with a clutch immunity, and with Rizzo holding his Schrodinger's cat idol yet again. Does it exist? Does it not exist? Is he going to play it? Is he not going to play it? Do we flush it? Do we split votes? Do we just ignore it? And with Sophie holding her kip, it was time to send the middleman packing. I enjoyed how Jawan and Sage were carefully trying to teeter between two sides of the merge tribe, and how the producers were done for the rest of the season with getting in the way of just letting them screw their own game up. From here on out, from the final 9 onward, we only had one journey that didn't really amount to anything. And that was it. We didn't even have the mergatory twist anymore, which was honestly pretty refreshing. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. We just ended up with a very wacky post-merge where the power bounced around like a little kid smashing the flippers on a pinball machine. Jawan and Sage took out Alex to appease Rizzo and Savannah. Then Yellow Sophie flips on Sage right after to play the middle and take out Jawan. Then Yellow Sophie gets flipped on herself right after. It's the weirdest game of King of the Hill where the main characters, namely Savannah and Rizzo, are still grappling with being on the bottom and not having that much power, despite managing to leverage their relationships and island trinkets to their fullest extent. Rizzo's constant idol holds were impressive. They allowed him to spook the other players enough to either try and split the vote or just outright not vote for him. Meanwhile, Savannah fully flipped Yellow Sophie to her side, all the while maintaining her alliance's loyalty even deep into the endgame. That Yellow Sophie flip was pivotal at that point, where she turns against Sage and Jawan, as the emotional deep cut of Jawan getting clipped sent a shockwave. I don't know how to better describe it, through the tribe. That was enough of an opening for Savannah to just sprint to the finish line. Steven, Christina, and Sage were all so fed up with Yellow Sophie, and they were getting whispers of Blue Sophie teasing them with a good time and a potential flip right after, that Yellow Sophie had to go. This stretch of gameplay was terrible for the Majority Alliance. But to me, in the comfort of my own home, it's what some of the best seasons have to offer. Character drama, constant shifts of power, underdogs who make impressive moves to stay ahead, and all of it has a cohesive narrative at the end where both Rizzo and Savannah face each other in fire to decide the likely winner. It's kind of poetic, and I would argue it's well written in the least scripted way, which is some of what Survivor does at its best. MC, Alex, Yellow Sophie, Sage, and Jawan, and lest we forget, we had Christina misplay her idol. Meanwhile, Steven is getting even against his fellow Hina. The post-merge brought enough life with all of these people and enough compelling storylines for me to enjoy the forest when I took a step back. When I stopped getting so bothered by just all of the new era isms that I talked about at the top of the video. And this was all largely because the majority were all on just different pages, operating at their own speeds at all times. I mean, they just kept blindsiding each other and hoping it wouldn't be a big deal 24 hours later. Turns out getting betrayed kind of sucks. Who knew? I will add, though, that I don't think, regardless of the fact that I knew Rizzo and Savannah were coming back, even though I thought they were likely bulletproof through all of this, they also had a fairly healthy amount of screen time compared to their opposition, which kind of told me all I needed to know. But then I didn't know their ultimate fate for sure. And either way, at a certain point, I didn't even care. The journey was entertaining enough at a certain point that the destination could have had Sage or Blue Sophie winning, and I'd be totally fine. Even the Steven Boot episode was pretty good, seeing how fluid the gameplay had become, that Sage, Sophie, and Christina wanted to be the final three, so they had to take out Steven next to gain the numbers. I will say I think it's unfortunate that this wasn't mostly the storyline of the episode, though. It was more like, oh my gosh, is she gonna steal an advantage that the producers knew couldn't actually get stolen, because that's just not how the mechanics worked, which I don't love, I will say, for the Steven, the final 6 episode. Not a big fan of the fact that it was all hinged on just what are people going to do with their advantages, their MacGuffins, and then it turns out the MacGuffins don't actually even work in a tandem with each other. That's not exactly my favorite kind of Survivor. I still think the background dynamic of what was happening with all the players much more interesting, and it saved this whole entire dynamic for me. But I will also say I think Sophie royally messed up with her kip advantage by not taking Rizzo's idol in this episode. I do think that in spite of the whole MacGuffins of it all, I think that was a pretty big letdown after weeks of it being hyped. They teased me with a massive payoff, and then it landed like a lead balloon. And it basically eliminated Sophie from winning. Although maybe she beats Rizzo if Savannah loses fire, but then he does beat her in fire making, which probably gives him a big edge. I think Sophie actually needs to throw herself into fire making against Savannah. I don't know. Either way, it was fascinating to watch these 3 women rally to take out the biggest threats, including Steven. But then it was almost being presented to me as if it was like Todd and Amanda not blindsiding James back in China. Come on, like you gotta bite the apple, Sophie. And you know what? I enjoyed the finale. With the decision making on how to best move forward, knowing that Savannah was the front runner, a real Blue Sophie's choice here. Do you keep Christina to beat Savannah in fire making, but then, what if it's you against Christina in fire making because Savannah's so good at winning these challenges? We did have a little bit of that whole tell not show. I really wish we had seen a little bit more of Christina being good at fire making up until the last second, when I guess it's now a plot line, but whatever, that's Survivor. Sophie was largely my favorite for most of this season, but with each passing episode, I felt like I was being set up for disappointment. And then when she came from behind at that final 4 to knock Savannah out from breaking the record for women winning immunity challenges, a record, by the way, that was set back in season 1, I knew it was over. Something inside of me died a little bit, even though I was rooting for both of them and I wanted either of them to win. Ultimately, I wanted Savannah to win a little bit more. Just, I wanted every bullet to get dodged. I wanted these messy players to get punished for letting her get this far, and then Savannah made fire anyway. Mind you, I would have been happy with any of Trace Lacius winning, but then there's something about hearing all season how Savannah is just by far the biggest target every episode, from like the merge onward to seeing her being crowned the winner, that it sits right for me. I guess in the end of it all, you could say that the chocolate truly chipped at that moment. I also really enjoyed that final tribal council with a bunch of those questions. It actually kind of felt a little bit more old school, which I appreciated. Christina's pointed question and Savannah's subsequent answer was everything in a nutshell. I think the best seasons of Survivor can't be scripted and should be able to stick the landing, and 49, particularly from episode 6 onward, gave me what I wanted for the most part, given the circumstances. The circumstances, of course, being the whole new era diatribe at the top of the video about how predictable the format of the show currently is. I'm glad that we didn't get a weird mergatory twist. The journeys were less prevalent. And just like a year ago, Jeff was like, oh, we don't really do villains anymore. And I'm okay. I don't know. Are you sure about that? We had a villainous toned winner, which for me is a breath of fresh air. All of my favorites tend to be a little more ruthless and a little bit more crafty and clever, and don't mind asking the tough questions.
I'm telling you that right now, to your face, point blank.
Who are
I'm
you
not voting
for?
Wow. Give me 2 seconds.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Give me 2 seconds.
Yeah, no,
'Cause
take your time. Take your time.
Yeah, I don't like that.
And if I'm being a little bit judgmental here, I want to say that I kept being told Savannah was this mean girl, but I don't think I ever saw it. I also wish we saw more of her and Rizzo's relationship develop. I don't know, in a weird way, the two of them combined felt a little bit lacking almost, but I don't know, maybe they're saving that for the sequel. So, in spite of my overall frustrations with the predictable repetition of the current format, I can appreciate the substance that is held within the cone, the essence of the cones, even if it tastes a bit similar to last time I took a lick. It's still Survivor. It still had all the makings of some of the best seasons before it. The ingredients were pretty much the same. I had some favorites to root for. They did well. I was captivated. I was sometimes a little bit bored, but for the most part, I was happy. It all clicked for me, and now I just have to worry about how Jimmy Fallon is somehow about to screw over Christian on season 50. I am prepared to cringe like never before, but hey, you know what? If I can retroactively appreciate Coach lecturing me on the importance of family whilst watching Adam Sandler in Jack and Jill, I can survive anything this show wants to torture me with. And I think a segue with Coach is where I'm going to end this video. That feels like the most perfect way to end a review of Survivor 49. That is my review of the latest season of Survivor. And I want to know, what did you think about this season? Where would you rank it compared to the other New Era seasons? And honestly, bigger picture, where would you rank it in the overall perspective of all of the seasons? Because I think I'm actually going to do that in 2026. I'm going to try to rank all 50 seasons and give them their due diligence. And I might actually do that for the winners as well. I've been really thinking about just going big for season 50 and hitting us with the biggest topics of the last 9 years of never talked about my season or winner rankings all that much. I think I'm expecting I skew a little more positively on 49 than what I've seen from the online fan base, but maybe I'll get blindsided, maybe not. Either way, thank you to my patrons for all your support, and thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. Don't forget to duck before that Billie Eilish boomerang gets you on your way out. Suri, get down! And I will see you in the next one. Once I yearn for the days when Parvati could find an idle clue at Outback Steakhouse, Bruce could get drunk as a skunk at the Charmin Outhouse, and celebrity cameos used to mean something.
Should season 50 of Survivor be all celebrity contestants?
I hope this is a yes.
Come on, audience. What do you think?
Okay.
What? Come on. This is great.
Somehow you have to be involved in Survivor 50. I think your audience just said as much.